Welcome to the Dollars and Cents podcast with Wes the Economist and Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist. We're reporting to you live from the Wave Beach Realty Studios in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Give us a call today at 843-957-3872. All right, guys, welcome back into the Dollars and Cents podcast with Wes the Economist. I am Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist, and we are back for episode 34 of our Quick Clips series, and today we are talking about Triple B, the Big Beautiful Bill Act. And I actually don't know everything that's in this. I've heard the term and about the bill, but I don't. You probably have a little bit more insight on this.
Not a lot, because it's been changing so much. Even yesterday, they're saying, well, we really not know everything until we get to the end and pass it, because everything's being changed left and right. So no, we don't know a lot. People are digging through it now. I think it passed at 6 a.m. the morning we're recording this. We're recording this on Thursday, May 22nd.
Right.
So they passed it to date in our perspective. So by the time this airs, obviously you'll know a lot more about it than probably we do now talking about it. But we do know there's tax cuts in it. Supposedly the tax cuts from 2017 have been put in, but I don't know if they've been put in for good or if there's not a sunset clause on them. Supposedly Social Security is no longer be taxed. That was supposed to be in there. No, it shouldn't be. It was taxed to begin with. Why is it being taxed again? That's double taxation. And
theft.
What do we do?
They call that.
What did we do in this country for tea? Anyway.
Yeah, let's go back to the Boston Harbor. Throw the politicians in there this time.
No tax on tips is supposed to be in there.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Whatever.
I like that. And no tax on overtime, which is pretty big.
That's
for like officers, fire department.
Yeah.
Anybody who works a lot of overtime.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. I remember when I used to work overtime, even at a grocery store, I'd look at my check and I was like, I worked 20 hours of overtime and my check's still only this. And I'm like, wait, they tax me more for my overtime pay? Yep. Mm-hmm. I was like, why would I stay over? They're like, that they would just laugh. My employees or other employees were like, yeah, welcome to the government.
It's actually the basis of the Laffer curve.
Yeah,
I think we talked about it before.
Yeah.
Taxation, do you tax somebody? The difference is if you got extra tax taken out, it just went under your tax bill for the year, so most likely you get it back.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at that point, the government uses it for a year with you not getting
pay
interest.
Me interest on it. Yeah, pay me interest on it if you're going to give it back, if I'm in that tax bracket.
Yeah, but that's archaic. We can get into that another thing. Our IRS is so archaic, it still taxes you each paycheck like you make that every time.
Right.
With computers, we shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
But anyway, that's a whole other story. What else is this thing pulling up? Substantial tax cuts, economic growth. That investment term by the government drives me crazy. Government doesn't invest anything.
Right.
Government invests our money.
Yeah, it's our money. So tell me what I'm investing in.
Yeah, exactly. Benefit families. There's that 1,000. Remember hearing about the $1,000 for having a child?
Yeah.
There's something in there. Again, I haven't seen the details yet, but that money going into a fund in the kid's name that's going to be accumulating interest for its whole life.
Oh, that's cool. When do they get
it? And then I hadn't seen any of that yet. Then somebody brought up, well, that sounds really good. Why aren't we doing that with Social Security?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so this says includes permanent extensions to the previous tax cuts. The one thing I heard that bothered me was there's $1.7 trillion in savings cutting of the budget in this, but I don't think it's in 1 year, so it really doesn't mean a lot. But they have to be activated again by Congress voting on them, each one. Okay. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that, again, like I said, passed this morning.
Yeah.
Now it goes to the Senate. Everybody says it's going to pass the Senate with no problem. I don't see that because there's a bunch of people in there because there's a lot of spending in here. Debt limit's going to have to be raised.
Right.
So the thought behind this, economics, I get to talk about economics. The thought behind this is, and I actually heard Glenn talking about it. Glenn did a pretty good job this morning talking about this. There's two ways of thinking to get us out of this debt. One is raise taxes. Well, we can't do that when the Laffer curve. People are going to stop working. So the other way is to grow ourselves out of it and to cut taxes, cut the government. But cutting the government, you can't get anything through Congress. They won't cut it.
Right.
So Trump's idea is what appears to be is I'm going to try to make the economy grow so much that even though the government's still spending money, it'll outpace it and allow us to start paying back some of the debt because we'll get more tax revenue in, which is because of the Laffer curve. That is a good theory. The question is, will the Congress not spend any extra money. That's the
Right.
problem. That's what's happened. That happened with Ronald Reagan. When Ronald Reagan cut the tax brackets, and everybody still says, well, he cut the tax brackets and the debt went up. Well, the debt went up is because Congress started spending so much more money. Now, the problem with that is Reagan signed off on it. But tax revenue actually went up. 2017, when Trump cut taxes, tax revenue went up. So the question is, do you want tax revenue to go up, or do you just want to tax people?
Right.
And most of the time, the government just wants to tax people.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought is, if we can get this big, beautiful bill going and have economic growth, then we can actually grow ourselves out of debt by having more tax base.
Yeah, makes sense.
The problem from an economist's point of view is, if the economy grows too quickly, then what you end up with could be inflation.
Right.
You've got to have, if demand is going to increase, supply's got to increase at the same level.
Mm-hmm.
And if either one of those gets out of whack, you could end up with inflation, or if demand drops off, like you and I were talking about earlier, that things don't seem to be good in real estate and across the board at this point because people are so on edge. If demand drops off, then we're going to be in a recession.
Right. Yeah.
Eisenhower Dental, located at 107 Waccamaw Medical Park Drive in Conway, a place where you can find all your dental services, including general dentistry, cosmetic, restorative, and pediatric dentistry. Reach out to them today at their website, eisenhowerdental.com, or call them at 843-234-3110, 843-234-3110, and tell them Wes the Economist sent you.
When life gets unpredictable, turn to a partner you can trust. At Bobby Clary State Farm, we've got you covered. Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, we're dedicated to providing personalized coverage that fits your needs. With our friendly and knowledgeable team, navigating your insurance options have never been easier. Visit bobbyclary.com or call 843-438-6000. Bobby Clary State Farm, here to help life go right. It's a tightrope we're walking.
Yeah. I actually think it's a razor's edge.
Yeah.
I think we could have mass inflation real easily, or we could be in a deep recession very easily.
Yeah.
But it's all because of what we've done to ourselves. As
Right.
we had this debt clip up a couple of quick clips ago. Go away. There you go. Now, I will say, this has not grown a lot this year. It's still going up, but we were at 36.5, 36.6 when the election happened.
Right.
And so we are actually not doing as bad as I thought we were going to do. Let's see if I can look at, I can only go back to 2020. But under Biden, this would be at 38 already.
Right.
But this is the problem. We spent $7.1 trillion over the last year and only brought in $5.1 trillion in the last year. So in the last year, and this goes back into Biden's administration, we spent $2 trillion putting that onto the debt.
Right.
$2 trillion more than we brought in.
Yeah. It's just, I just don't understand how the country functions on this model right now. I can't. How many trillion? I mean, it looks to me like, okay, 36 trillion in debt. What does it matter if you're 236 trillion in debt if you just keep doing the same? Like, what causes it to stop?
So what you got to think about is, and this is what's happened once we've gotten this big, is people don't think about it as real money.
Right. Well, I don't.
Yeah,
it looks
36.8. It looks silly, but that is $36.8 trillion that could have been in private investment and not in government investment.
Right.
But people have their money there because it's a safe investment, it's a safe hedge. Obviously, not the last few years because of inflation, but they put their money there so they can hedge against the future.
Right.
The thing is, that is money that could have been invested somewhere else. Imagine what $36 trillion invested in the U.S. economy would have done through the private sector instead of the government.
Right. Oh, God. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
And you think about just simple math here. Simple math. You don't have to be an economist or anything. This is how much the government spent, $7 trillion last year, and our gross domestic product was $30 trillion. So literally, even though they didn't buy all final goods with this, this is went into people's salary who bought final goods. It went into grants, which bought final goods. So literally, what do we got here? About 25? More than that.
Yeah, 23.
23, 25 straight off of that, of our U.S. a sales or a gross domestic product is decided by the government.
Yeah.
Now you throw into that what we were talking about earlier also, and that the government has so many regulations. We're paying more for houses than we should. We're paying more for cars than we should. So it's just really screwed up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's future tariff tax revenue, payroll tax, which is a scam.
Which one?
Payroll tax.
That's your FICA. That's your Social Security and your Medicare.
Exactly. Scam.
Biggest Ponzi scheme in the world. Future. And we have brought in a bunch of tariff money, which I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
But I also saw where Walmart's going up on its prices. And
the dollar it has a 96% loss in value since 1913.
Actually, I figured it was over 100%, to be honest with you.
How can you even go over 100%? How can you have more of a loss than 100% of your value?
Well, I'm thinking of in terms of buying products. How can you go over 100% of your GDP?
I just don't. Yeah, these numbers again. These numbers just don't make sense to me. It's like what at a certain point, it's like what's the difference between 36 and other than the obvious number itself? Yeah. What's the difference between 36 and 100 trillion? What is it? Well, what changes at that point?
And that's how the federal government views it. And they took out of here unfunded debt. Here's the U.S. total debt. This includes all debts in the United States. $103.9 trillion. That's counting all mortgages, obviously credit cards are in there, and debt by state debt, which is another $1 trillion. Every debt. There's another number that's probably up around $2 trillion now. Excuse me, not $2 trillion, $200 trillion in unfunded debt of the U.S. government, just U.S. government. What they have said they're going to pay out in the next 40 years because people are taking Social Security checks out 18, 16. They're promising when they're 65, they're going to get them at 67. For them, probably 70. They're going to pay that money 50 years from now. That's included in that number.
Right.
$200 trillion the government's on the hook for.
Crazy.
And it can't last.
No.
But I don't know why they took all those numbers out of here, but they did.
What is hidden wealth?
That's a new category. Let's see if it's got a definition.
Yeah, it's like bottom. You can't even. It's over here on the far right. Total hidden wealth.
It's not giving me anything.
Yeah. Crazy.
I'll make it smaller, maybe. No.
Asset-backed dollar.
It's we could spend hours and hours going through each one. It's so much. And they've added stuff on here. I'm not sure borders and counters.
I don't.
Of course, that was another way of changing. I remember when Biden changed the definition of something with some executive order, and the border encounters went down. And it basically, what it is, redefined what an encounter was. That's all it did.
Well, they're down 95%.
Yeah. Trump's encounters, based on their definition, is down 95%.
Right. Yeah. Oh.
It didn't even need a law to pass to do it. Imagine that.
Crazy.
Had enough for this week?
I think so.
So, y'all have a happy weekend. Great weekend.
Memorial Day. Everybody gets a long week.
Well, Memorial will be last week for this one.
That's
so
true.
I hope you had a good Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Coming up on June 1st, this Sunday. When you listen to this, next Sunday will be June 1st.
That's crazy. We're almost halfway through the year already.
It's gone.
The time just goes, man. The time just goes.
It never stops, man.
And the more I work, the quicker they go by.
Time
it's just
keeps
like
on slipping.
Yep.
Slipping.
Reminds me of Space Jam, the movie Space Jam.
Into the future. Who was that?
Who
was that?
Oh, jeez. If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you.
It's not Jefferson.
No. Steve Miller Band?
Steve Miller Band. Oh. Yeah. Look at that.
Look at that.
You got
little
it.
music trivia for the win.
Yeah, have a great week.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Mortgage payment, insurance payments, credit card payments. They can be very overwhelming. Are you ready to take the time to get things under control? Then reach out to me at Clark Financial Coaching to see if we can get you Started with a budget and then a vision for the future. Write me at coachwesc@gmail.com. That's coachwesc@gmail.com.
Are you looking to buy a home in North or South Carolina? You need to reach out to Wave Beach Realty today. We are a family-owned company with over 10 years of experience in North and South Carolina and operate along the Grand Strand. Give us a call today at 843-957-3872. That's 843-957-3872. Thanks for listening to the Dollars and Cents Podcast with Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist and Wes the Economist. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and X at DollarsCentsGS and on Facebook at Dollars and Cents.